Was there a female pope? And did the Catholic Church cover it up? The tale of Pope Joan is irresistible. A brilliant woman in disguise, exposed only when she gave birth during a procession, and the hierarchy supposedly erased her from every record. But it's also probably fiction. The story first appears in a 13th century chronicle, 400 years after her alleged reign, and no contemporary document, papal list, or diplomatic letter ever mentions her. Historians class it with other medieval moral parables, not with the archives. But could it be a cover-up? Well, I guess anything is possible, but probably not. But the story survives, I think, because it rings true to a deeper worry, that power cloaks its own shame. And what is that? Well, that's pride, the central sin of the 7 deadly sins. Are there real Pope stories that you may never have heard of that are a secret shame? Oh yeah. Here's 4 of them. In 1045, Benedict IX became history's only man to sell the papacy. Born into a Roman clan that treated St. Peter's throne like a family heirloom, he was so scandalous that he accepted a payment of silver to resign. Then seized being pope back again when politics shifted. And then he did it again after being driven out a second time. Less than a century later, the cardinals installed John XII, roughly 18 years old. Contemporary chronicles accused him of gambling with church treasure, drinking toasts to pagan gods, and dying while committing adultery, possibly at the hands of an outraged husband. It was so bad during his reign that the Lateran Palace was described as a den of moral corruption in Rome, and it became the subject of general disgrace. Later, in 1294, hermit monk Celestine V was crowned pope, and was horrified by the politics and intrigue. He issued a decree allowing his own resignation and then immediately used it. After only 5 months on the throne, he steps down. His successor, Boniface IX, imprisoned him until his death, fearing that the precedent might make future popes seem dispensable. So here we actually had a pope who seemed to want to do the right thing and died in prison because the next pope decreed it should be so. Which brings me to a final interesting fact about popes. In the 19th century, at the Vatican Council in 1870, the bishops voted to define papal infallibility. When a pope speaks eth cathedra, literally from the chair, on faith or morals, he cannot be in error. Now, it's a very high bar. The pope must speak eth cathedra, right, as the universal shepherd. 2, he intends to define a doctrine of faith or morals. And 3, he intends the teaching to bind the whole church permanently. Only 2 things have actually ever met that category: the Immaculate Conception and the Assumption of Mary. But it's also important to remember that we also had a pope who decreed in 1493 that Spain had divine title and right to any barbarous nations in the West, basically instructing the Spanish crown to conquer the Americas, which of course led to tremendous death and suffering. Now, they undid that, and it didn't actually meet the infallibility criteria, so technically it's not an inconsistency. But it does remind me of the problem of pride that we mentioned earlier. These are men, just men, but men who, in theory at least, can make infallible statements. And there's tremendous danger there, as we've seen by some of these past popes. We've also had some pretty good ones, like Pope Francis, who was tremendously dedicated to the poor. And I'm not trying to say really anything bad about the Catholic Church or popes in general. What I'm trying to say is that there's a constant reminder of the danger of power for any one person. And perhaps now, in these times more than ever, it's important to remember that we are all just human and very fallible indeed. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed these Pope facts and philosophical deep dives in general, please like, please subscribe, and comment. Did I miss a Pope fact that you find interesting? Share it down there. I would love to read it. And with that, I hope you have a wonderful day.